Okay, what went wrong with the Book of Boba Fett? First of all, why is this even called the Book of Boba Fett? This show is the least booky book that's ever booked a book. I think our boy Boba, writes once in the entire show, and that was just for a few seconds on a little electronic memo thing. Even calling this a Boba Fett show is kind of a stretch, since the title character only appears in 67% of the episodes. You could have at least called the show Of, since I guess you can say it consists of characters, but a better and more accurate title would be The Mandalorian Season 2.5. Let's face it, Mando going around the galaxy, being a good dad to Baby Yoda, is just about the only thing most Star Wars fans care about at this point. Even though I greatly enjoyed the return of Mando and his little green companion, it's not good storytelling to have your lead character sidelined halfway through a show to focus on a completely different character. Even the finale felt more like a Mandalorian episode in which Boba Fett was a side character than a Book of Boba Fett episode. But even apart from that glaring problem, the entire show reeks of the fact that Jon Favreau really doesn't care about the character of Boba Fett and would much rather be telling stories about characters like Mando or Luke Skywalker. The Mandalorian Season 2.5 is very slow-paced. It takes almost the entire season just to establish the villain/threat. And part of the reason for that is because so much of the runtime is wasted by, guess what? Literally nothing! There are so many establishing shots. Shots of people walking around. Shots of people standing still. Shots of Boba Fett taking a freaking bath. Seriously, if you took out all the shots where nothing is happening, you could probably trim the show down to 3 episodes. Not to mention that so much of what does happen is utterly pointless. The Hutt twins? Insignificant. Boba Fett meeting Fennec Shand? Pointless backstory that we didn't need to know. Boba Fett being accepted into the tribe of the Tusken Raiders? They die in episode 3. Mando going to Luke to check in on Grogu and struggling with the Darksaber? Could have been the pilot episode from Mandalorian Season 3. The whole build-up and mystery surrounding the mayor? Pointless misdirection. Cad Bane being introduced? He dies after barely doing anything. The mods? It just feels like Jon Favreau is trying to waste our time, and it is so irritating. This is yet another example of a studio knowing that fans will watch whatever it puts out, so therefore putting minimal effort into stuff like writing. The Book of Boba Fett is very comparable to the sequel trilogy in the fact that certain moments and episodes are really good on their own, but they are a chaotic mess when all put together with no clear direction. The show goes from being about Boba Fett being adopted into the tribe of the Tusken Raiders, to him trying to be a just and noble leader of Tatooine, to a who's the villain mystery, to the Mandalorian Season 2.5, to a war against the Pikes to stop the spice trade. Any one of those storylines had the potential to be really good if they would have just picked one and stuck with it. Instead, it comes off like the writers changed their minds about what they wanted the show to be about every episode or 2. So what could have been done differently to fix the Book of Boba Fett? To answer that question, let's look at Star Wars' rival franchise, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The recently released Spider-Man No Way Home has not only received universal critical and public praise, but has also managed to become the 6th highest grossing movie of all time during a pandemic. It not only is easily in the top 3 best Marvel movies of all time, but is also among one of the best superhero movies just in general. This is an even bigger accomplishment considering the fact that past experience says it should have failed. To be entirely honest, I was skeptical going into the movie. not only because of Spider-Man's bumpy past with movie trilogies, but also because I held a very unpopular opinion that bringing in Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, as well as all the Spider-Man villains from past movies, would be a terrible idea. It just kind of seemed like the cheap, cash-grabby thing that studios do to cash in on nostalgia when they run out of ideas, and I just couldn't see it being a good movie. So why was I wrong? What made Spider-Man No Way Home so good? The answer is the writers and directors deeply cared about those characters they were telling a story about. And because they cared, they listened to the actors. As a theater nerd who is an actor myself, I can tell you that there is no one who puts more thought into a character than the actors who have to literally embody that person and bring them to life. When asked why he signed on to No Way Home in an interview with Deadline, Tobey Maguire said, quote,
I gotta say I was intrigued immediately. Like in that conversation, the intention, the kind of love and celebration of these movies and what it meant, I think, to Amy and Kevin was apparent. And to me, when artists or people who are steering the creative process have a kind of authentic, genuine intent of celebration and love, it just was so apparent in both of them that I don't know, I just wanted to join that.
Similarly, in an interview with Variety, Andrew Garfield said, "We would have deeper conversations too and talk about our experiences with the character. And to have Amy Pascal there, who has seen through 9 movies including Spider-Verse, it was a revelatory experience for her, realizing how much life and time she'd given to this character. It was beautiful and profound." The people behind the movie cared, and they listened to the actors, and it really shows in the final product. The return of Toby and Andrew could have easily been the worst part of that movie, but instead it's the highlight because their interactions with each other and with Tom Holland are just so pure and flawless. You can visibly see the love and passion that went into the making of No Way Home. And that is why it's such a good movie. It's, at its core, it's a love letter to the character of Spider-Man. Now, let's compare that to the Book of Boba Fett. One of the major criticisms about the show is that Boba Fett, who was a silent and mysterious figure in the original trilogy, is now overly talkative in almost an uncharacteristic way. It's a problem that our boy Boba himself, Temuera Morrison, was also aware of. In an interview with NME, he expressed his efforts to try to get Jon Favreau to change the script during filming, saying,
"Yes, I wasn't very successful. I was hoping not to say as much as I have already in the first 2 episodes. I speak far too much. In fact, in the beginning, I was trying to get past my lines on to Ming Na.
Yes,
and I'd always say, excuse me, director, I really feel that Ming Na should say these lines because I want to stay mysterious. Right. I want to stay quiet." So, yeah, but and even when, because, well, obviously John's one of the key writers. So, and so sometimes I'd always say, I think this is too much.
Unfortunately, Jon Favreau wouldn't listen to him, and he even went as far as to try to cut lines from the script when Jon Favreau was on a trip to Atlanta, lines that he inevitably had to put back in.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, of course, John actually went away to Atlanta, so I rang Noah that night and I said, "Noah, the scene tomorrow, I'm talking too much. This Boba doesn't talk this much. Look, I've got all these paragraphs here. I think we should get rid of it. And John's gone to Atlanta, so don't tell him." And then next minute that morning on set, I get a call from Atlanta. "John wants you to say all that dialogue, and he'll cut it out later."
It's unclear if listening to Temuera Morrison would have actually made the show better or not, but the importance of listening and respecting the ideas and opinions of actors is undeniable. This has been a consistent problem with Disney's Star Wars. During the making of The Last Jedi, Mark Hamill addressed concerns to Rian Johnson about the direction of his character. And now The Last Jedi has become one of the most criticized Star Wars movies to date. So here is my advice to the creative minds behind Star Wars. Care about the characters you are writing and listen to the actors.
No.